All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, coming to you right now with the last FishCreek Animal Hospital case study from our textbook, Web Development and Design Foundations with HTML5 by Terry Felke-Morris, 8th edition. Again, as mentioned, we're in the last chapter. So, what we're supposed to do is create a new folder called FishCreek14, and as you can see, mine is called Chapter14, but I've done that. I copied everything from Chapter 13 over to Chapter 14. I want to, that's for a later time, I want to open up, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to have to open here, so I'll wait on that. Okay, so we've created the folder. Add a date to the home page. Launch a text editor and open the index.html file. You will add the date to the document that was last modified to the bottom of the page. You have the option to complete this task with JavaScript or to complete it with jQuery. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do both. So, what I'll do is I'll come in here and grab my index, copy, paste. Let's call this first one index.js.html. And we'll call the second one index.jq.html. All right, and I'll leave the original one in there. And the JS will have the JavaScript and the JQ will have the jQuery. So I'll open both of those up. I think we're going to do the JavaScript first, so. All right. In the page footer section, after the email link, add a div that contains a script block that will put in the following message. Use the date last modified. Okay, so we'll put a div in there. One more time. In the page footer after the email link, put in a div. All right. And that should have a paragraph tag, I believe, in it that says this page was last modified on, and instead of date, first let's finish up our paragraph tag. All right, we're going to put a script tag in here. In fact, let's put in our script tag and our ending script tag. And right in between there, we want to add document.lastDateModified. Copy. And just to be sure here, well, we got it in a paragraph tag, so we should have, definitely should have blank lines in there, but let's look. This page was last modified on, and there's no date in there. But the good news is we do have that this page was last modified on. Okay. All right, this shouldn't be very difficult, but for some reason I'm not figuring it out. So give me a second rather than me bumbling around. I'll be right back. All right, I believe the reason that that's wrong is I need a document dot right here to force this document. This whole thing here should look like this. So we're going to put in a script tag here. Document dot write. All right, so this page was last modified on plus document dot last modified. Now I don't know if that's correct or not, but we're going to look at that. So let's see. So I was looking at a couple of examples before I did this, so now it's not showing at all. Div script document dot write. It's modified on plus. Document dot last modified. This page was last modified. There it is. All right, again, to try to make it look a little nicer, I think I'm going to add a BR tag right here. Then we'll come back and take a quick look at this. There we go. All right, so what do we have? Document.write writes things right on the web page itself. All right, so that's going to write this page was last modified on, but then we have to call the document.lastModified file, which goes out and gets the last modification date. All right, I believe that was all we were supposed to do right here. Save it, yep. Now, in the footer area, code another div element, add a script tag to access the jQuery CDN. Okay, I'll do that. So let's do the other one. Right, so we've already got this one done for the first part, so we're going to go over to this one. Now again, we're going to want to put in a lot of the same stuff, but not everything that's the same. But I'm going to grab that anyway, grab it and add it right here. Okay, we'll make some changes to it in just a couple minutes. But the first thing that we want to do, it says, is we want to add jQuery through the CDN. So, try to make this easier on myself, I'm going to type in jQuery CDN. And there are several CDNs. Now they actually have it there, and I don't want the actual site itself. Let's see. Should be able to use that. So where do they tell us to put this? In the head section. There is all sorts of debate as far as where you should put a bunch of this stuff. Should it be in the head section or should it be in the body section? We'll talk about that in much more depth and breadth of coverage when we get to the JavaScript portion of the class. All right, so there's our jQuery CDN listing right there. Okay. Code a jQuery script block that includes the ready event and uses the HTML method to display the message. This, please, was last. Okay. Save it and test it in the browser. All right. So we want to do something like this. Oops. Okay. We don't want a console log. We'll replace that in just a second. I think we want to just grab this and throw that in here. Which means we won't need this anymore. All right, if all worked as planned, it's going to look exactly the same as the other one. Oops. Well, it does have that. The page was last modified on, but it's putting it onto a different page. All right, again, I'm going to go back and debug this. I apologize. Okay, so I wasn't that far off, but I have to let the system know where I want to put this. So let's get rid of this, put in this. And in English, what it's saying is pretty much what we just did last time. And what I mean by that is we're telling it in our footer what we want to do is we want to add HTML that says this page was last modified on, and we want to add that. All right, because the way that I had it before, we were telling it to put it on a new page. All right, now let's check. And it's not showing it. The only thing I can think of in here is I guess I probably could take the script tag, put it way up above. Let's see. And put it right here. Okay, but I don't know how that's going to exactly change anything in here. Don't know if I need the div anymore now. Let's go back and take a look at what's in our text. Well, first we might as well run it, but I don't see where that's going to give me any difference. Nope, it's still not showing it. In the footer area, go to div element. Okay, so I still need the div. Add a script tag in the head section, so I put that in. Code the jQuery blocks, I did that. Okay, so I need the div that's in there. All right. Again, give me just a second here. We'll get it. We'll get it. We're very close. Before I check anything, the only thing I could think of is I wonder if we just need to have a div in there, because we didn't. We took it out. So I don't know if that could be what the problem is or not. Put another line break in there, but I don't know if that'll fix it or not. No. Huh. All right. I'm going to investigate, so I'll pause while I do that. Okay, I've done a little investigatory work, and I'm wondering why. Let's see, I've got that, and I've got this. I think I've got one too many of these in here. I think this should be moved over. I'm not sure if that'll fix it or not, but let's check. There we go. Page was last modified on. Somehow I lost that line break. we go. So we now, using both jQuery and using JavaScript, there's the page was last modified on with JavaScript. The page was last modified on with jQuery. And again, to do that, for the JavaScript, we had to add what you see in gray right there. All right. So we had to add a script element with the document.write, so we wrote to the web page. This page was last modified on, and we called the built-in document method in JavaScript last modified. Then for the jQuery, we had to do two things. First, we had to, using a CDN, a content delivery network, which meant go out on the internet and find this information for us. So we added in jQuery using a CDN. Then we put in our actual jQuery, which said when the document's ready, in the footer, the div that's in the footer, so footer div, that's why we needed the div. That means right here, because it's in the footer, and there's the div. So the div that's in the footer, add HTML to it that said the page was last modified on, followed by, again, the call to the JavaScript document method last modified. So we've got those done. Let's just continue on. All right. Add data validation to the contact page. All right, open up the content. And I guess we're going to do that in two ways. So maybe it's right, maybe it's not right, but what I'm going to do is I'm now, since I got the index.jq and the index.js, I'm also going to have a contact.jq and a contact.js. All right, I'll bring both those up right now. Okay, and going back here, let's see, so let's flip these two here. There we go, the JS. All right, so add a script block to the head section as follows. Let's add it, and it's in the head section, so let's take a look right away at what it does. First, I'm going to kind of pretty it up just a tad. Now, what I'm doing does not make this run any better, but it makes it easier for a person following it to see what's going on, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so I am calling a routine called validate forms. And I'm saying there, if the email address has been left blank, give us an alert that says, please enter an email address and return false. Otherwise, return true. Now, all we're checking for is the presence or an absence of a value in the email. We're not checking whether or not it's a valid email. That would be another check. We'll get into how to do things like that in the JavaScript portion of the class. So we did that. Then edit the form tag. As shown. So it had looked like this, and we're going to change it to this. Now, in English, what this is saying is we're still doing a post, we're still calling the same thing that we called before, but when you submit the form, return the value from validate form, which is going to return either true or it's going to return false. If it returns true, it should go ahead and do the action, and if it returns false, it should basically do nothing. All right. Next, we want to remove the HTML5 required attributes from the input and text area elements and remove the asterisks. Verify that the input box accepts the user's email address that has a name attribute with a value of my email. Verify that the input text box now accepts the visitor's email address. Okay, I believe I understand everything they mean. So we've got to go back in here, and where we have required, they want us to remove the word required from these. All right, they want us to remove the asterisk. Or all the asterisks. And we can remove this paragraph now too that says required fields are marked by an asterisk. All right, now let's run this. And now you'll notice if I click send now, nothing happens. Okay, it did come back and it sent it, which I'm surprised it did. But if I come back here, and I'm not, again, I'm surprised because it looks as though my code didn't take here. All right, so let's check. Email address has a name attribute with the value of my email. So I guess we do want to change it so it looks like this. Copy. Okay, I believe that now that's correct. Save the file and load it in the browser. Test by clicking the submit button without typing in the box. The alert should come. Test it again by entering anything in there and it should submit. All right, so let's check that. Nothing. We should get an error now. And we do. But if we put anything in here, oh, since we said that it must be a valid email address. All right. That is a valid email address. Oh, it's because I'm putting it in the comments. All righty. What if we put in this? Please include, okay, so we do get our error message. Good. And if we put in a valid email, okay. Now, were we supposed to remove all of the required from the input in the text area? I did that. Remove this in the comment. I did that. Okay, so that all works. So now we're supposed to go back and virtually do the same thing, but do it using jQuery. Okay? This will be a little slicker, to be honest with you. But what I want to do is this. I want to, my index files are now done. My contact JavaScript is done. So I want to keep the contact jQuery. That's the one I want to work with now. And I want to make my changes accordingly. And after I've made those changes, I want to test it. And then when I get done, I want to go back and run the validator on every single file And actually the only ones that I've changed in here, I haven't changed the CSS at all. So I want to go back and run it on the index.js, the index.jq, the contact.js, and the contact.jq. And once I do that, I should be finished. All right, so add a script tag to the head section to access the jQuery CDN. Well, I am going to have to go back and open the jQuery that we had here so I can copy that line. No, the other one closed. I don't know what happened. Okay, so we now have that in here. Okay. So we added the script tag, add a script tag to the head section to access the jQuery validate plugin. And I'm trying to grab the newest one here, which I think is right there. All right. So I've now come in and I've done this, and I've done this. Code a jQuery script block that includes the ready event that invokes the validate plugin. And I'm just going to copy this because it'll make my life a little easier. All right. So what's in here is incorrect. That's going to have to be changed. All right. So it says, okay, we added that script tag, code the jQuery block. It says refer to this. All right, I'm going to have to go back, I guess, and read this because I want to show it to you correctly. So again, last time, hopefully, I'm going to pause this and take a read and then come back and finish it up. All right, it looks like there's not much I have to do. I just have to call the validate method. But before I do that, so we've done all this, edit the CSS to configure styles for error messages, configure a style rule with the class name error. So we're going to have to make a new open up here our CSS, come down to the bottom right before our media tags, and we need a class error, and that's all the stuff. Set float to none. Position to relative. Left to 25. It just says left. It doesn't say margin or whatever. I wouldn't think it'd be padding, but left to 25 ems, top to 2.5 ems with, well, I'm going to try it with margin. If it's wrong and it's padding, I'll know when I run this because it's going to look really weird. So margin left, whoops. To 25 ems. Margin top to negative 2.5 ems. We want our width set to 25 ems. The text alignment should be set to left. The font style should be set to italic. The font size should be set to 0.9 em. The color to red and the font typeface, which of course is font family, to Arial. Now hopefully that's everything. We'll take a quick look. All right, so you can see how that's all been set up. Just following the instructions that are in the book. All right, edit the HTML again, remove the required, remove all that other stuff. Add class equal required email to the input tag for the email. So just as we did before, we've got to come up to our contact jQuery, and like I said, same thing that we did before, remove all the asterisks. Remove this comment about the required fields. Remove the word required from each one of these. And then here we want class equal required mail for our email. I believe that's everything for there. So we edit it, we remove that, save and test it. All right, this should work in a similar manner, although not identically, to what we just looked at. So let's run this. Okay, well, it looks a little funky, so something is wrong there, but you can see we get that this field is required. And if we put in something that's not valid, please enter a valid email address. So the validator is catching both of those. But if I put in jpscott@rankin.edu, it works. Okay, well that's good. I just want to go back and double check my CSS because that really looked funky. I'm going to go and look, I got to go bring up the author's site and see if that was margin padding or what, because that's why it's goofed up. So last time, let's pause. Okay, so I did look that up, and here's my problem. All right, where I put that error stuff, okay, that was supposed to be for the label. All right, and this actually was supposed to be left and top. All right, so that's the way it was actually supposed to look. So let's see if that fixes it. Field is required. Does it show it in the book that it's down a line? No, there it's right on the same line. Something is still a little funky with it, but it's not too bad. The other thing I would typically do, even if the author doesn't do it, is I would also come in here and put in a font weight bold, just so that message sticks out. I just want to look one more time at what the author had asked for in here. All right. so let's, all right. So float to none, position to relative, left to 25 ems, top to minus 2.5 ems, width to 25 ems, text alignment to left, font style to italic, font size to 0.90 em, color to red. It looks correct to me. So again, the only thing that I've added that was not in here previously is I added to make the CSS to make the weight bold. Now I'm not sure why mine is a line lower than what was shown there, but it is. Okay, so I'm also getting that, and I'm getting if it's an invalid email address. Notice if I put in there ad.edu, now it's okay. All right, so I am now finished with everything. Now I'm doing this a little bit differently, just so you know. What I've done, I'll show you this very quickly. You may or may not care, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. This is where I keep my master list, so to speak, of all my videos. And as I move over to here, okay, I've done 17 lectures on the PowerPoint presentations. Each one had their own video, except a couple had 2 videos. And here's the FishCreek stuff. I had previously finished. There was no FishCreek for chapters 1, 5, or 10. And today I did 12, 13, and 14. So these will be added in just a minute. All right, the reason I'm telling you that is I'm also next going to be going over this, which has got a bunch of URLs that might help people. And I'm going to call that Read Me First. So that's going to be the next lecture that I do in just a couple minutes. I'll be back with that shortly.